but I needed a
Mhm.
mental challenge. I needed something that I can do with the skills I've been given. And the thing is more valuable than the money that you spend or you can gain, right? Is the wisdom that you gain.
What do you think people get wrong when it comes to applying to tech sales jobs now that you know how I teach how to approach the job search? How does a 30K a year janitor break into tech sales in just 20 days and double his income? You're about to find out. Let's go back to the beginning and start there.
Mhm.
So, before tech sales was on your radar and before you and I had even met, what was life like? What were you doing with your career and what was kind of family life like?
Yeah, so for the majority of my career, I've spent in ministry, right? I've done that in both fully vocational roles and bivocationals, whether I've been a youth pastor or a worship pastor, but a lot of times I was doing ministry while also being a janitor. So the job I had directly before Motorola was working as a maintenance tech, or that's just a fancier way of saying janitor. And yeah, I mean, life was good. God is always good, and I believe He's given me exactly what I needed for every season of my life. But especially making this transition from ministry to focusing more so on a career to raise my family and treating my family as, my first ministry, right? I realized, hey,
Mhm.
these bills aren't going to cut it with the amount of money that I'm making currently. I need to do something to level up my game. And I'm also in
Mhm.
full-time school right now too, so we got the one-year-old, married, full-time school, working a part-time job at the same time, trying to navigate all of that. Just been having conversations with my wife, and we're like, "Okay, hey, Jess, how can we level up our game? This
Mhm.
isn't working." And, that's when I saw your ad on Instagram, and
Mhm.
where it was something like, Christian men, your families miss you, you're burnt out, something, something, something. I'm like, oh hey, this is all me. And I clicked it, and it was the best Instagram ad post I've ever clicked. So
Oh man.
yeah.
Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. I always say that like God does not own the algorithm. It's definitely owned by Satan, unfortunately. But God will use the algorithm, man, for sure.
Absolutely.
Okay, crazy. So I do think maintenance tech makes janitor sound a lot cooler, by the way. That's like a really spicy way to dress that up. So what were you as kind of the provider of your family? Like what were you averaging annually then? Was it around like 30K, I think, right?
Yeah, I was just hitting 30K a year part-time. So for a part-time
Okay.
gig where I was, it was pretty good. I mean, I could have moved full-time, made more, but
Mhm.
the issue with the place that I was working at is that like it's a place where there's actually a lot of room to grow, but there's no transfer of skills really to any other career path. I mean, I've met
Uh,
general managers and assistant general managers who are clearing over six figures a year, but they could get fired off of just one clerical error, right? So,
mm,
in addition to that, it's just I love working with my hands. I love working outside, but I needed a
mhm.
mental challenge. I needed something that I can do with the skills I've been given through my pastoral work, right? Communication
Yeah.
skills, the ability to lead with other people, and really the stuff that was in SDR work.
Gotcha. And so were you doing part-time ministry as well as the part-time custodian work?
No, so my wife and I, we were doing full-time ministry up until August of last year, and
Okay.
essentially 3 months prior to my daughter being born, we decided to make the transition out of ministry to focus on our family and stuff. So we've still been serving
Yeah.
at our church, whether that's on worship team or just being there on Sunday and still going to other events and stuff. But we've
Mm.
had to put that on the side so that way we can focus on these other aspects of life.
Mm. Yeah, man, I think just like to have a quick brother in Christ combo, I
Hmm.
think a lot of us get caught up in putting ministry as our first ministry, and that's actually not even the biblical model. Like the biblical model, I think it was Isaac, he built an altar, pitched a tent, dug a well.
Mhm.
So it was God first, then he pitched a tent for his family, and then he dug a well. Then it was work, then it was service. And so I think it's hard though. Did you have any what was your thought process around moving from full-time ministry into, "Hey, I need to prioritize my family." Was that hard at all, or was it a no-brainer?
It was the easiest decision I've made in my life, and let me
Okay.
tell you why, okay? in summary, I transitioned out of ministry so I can do ministry, right?
Mm,
Most of my time at church, I realized that, like, hey, I'm working inside the church building, okay, and I'm hardly seeing anyone, anyone outside of the faith. I have like no contact with unbelievers. I have very little friends who don't know anything about Christianity, and just something kept sinking in my heart, like, hey, if we're supposed to reach people for the gospel of Christ, how are we going to do that if we're confined in the four walls of the church? And I
wow.
love my pastoral staff. I love the leadership there. They are awesome. But personally, what I knew for me is that I wanted to be an example of what it's like to be a Christian without the title, right? Because so
Mm,
many of us, we sit in the pulpits, we sit in our pews for 10, 20, 30 years and never really growing at a good rate in our faith, not realizing that God gave the apostles, the prophets, evangelists, the ministers, the teachers for the equipping of the saints to do the work of the ministry. Meaning, most of the
mm,
people doing the ministry are the people without the titles. Those are the moms, those are the dads, those are the teachers, those are the coaches, those are the SDRs, right? Those are the doctors, those are the people in the workforce. So, yeah, I made the transition out to support my family, but also realizing that one, my first ministry is to my family, and then two, I can make a better impact for God's kingdom outside of the four walls of the church than inside.
yeah. Dude, you might not be in formal ministry anymore, but you're still preaching. Come on. That was
Appreciate it.
I so two little personal stories of kind of from my life. When I first came to the Lord, I was so zealous that I wanted to go be a preacher. Like I was, I think 20, 21, and I was talking to my pastor about, hey, like, could I start sitting under you, learning from you? And he's like, Jack, I love your heart to want to serve in the ministry, but we have way too many people in the church already. Where we really need pastors and evangelists and all of those, we need them in the business place, in the marketplace. And so I will support you in this, but I need you to go pray about this for like 6 months. Like take some time to walk with the Lord to see if he really wants you in full-time ministry or not. And then fast forward, here I am, in the business marketplace, trying my best to shine light of Jesus. And so I think that's really cool that you're able to have that mature perspective that ministry is not confined to four walls at the church. Ministry is how you show up at work. It's the excellence of your work, right? Like Paul says to be all things to all people. And Jesus in the beginning of the gospels, it said he grew in favor with God and man. And so it's like if we do a good job at work, we're going to start to attract people through the goodness of God. And they're going to wonder like, Andrew, what's your story, man? Like why do you work so hard? Why are you so successful? And then you just get to point right back to Jesus. Like, let me tell you my testimony because I don't belong here. Right? Fair?
Yeah. No,
I'm
that's
so
that's
excited for
really
you.
good, man.
Yeah, you're gonna crush it. The other thing that made me think of is right after the stuff happened with Charlie Kirk, I was again like just emboldened. Like a couple, this is 2 months ago. This is very recent, right? Um, and I was super emboldened to go want to serve and like, oh man, like I want to go do something. And I'm sitting in my son's playroom playing blocks with him, and I feel so unimportant and so unhelpful to the greater cause of pushing the kingdom, expanding the kingdom, like compared to Charlie in his life. And then God spoke to me as I'm playing with blocks with my son, feeling like a loser. He's like, Jack, you're evangelizing your son right now, and that's more important than anything you could do on a stage or in a crowd or whatever. So man, I'm just really proud of you for having that presence of mind to be a dad who wants to lead your family well and to do it in a way where you're still doing ministry. You're just doing it outside the church.
Absolutely. And can I share something with you for real quick? You
Yeah.
know, um, so this is something I was talking to my wife about, and it's just an encouragement I want to share with you. Um, I completely feel the same way about the death of Charlie Kirk, and whenever I see him, whenever I saw him die, when I saw him do what he did, what I saw was
Mhm.
just someone who fully invested into their life with Christ. Not a politician, not a preacher, but someone who was so on fire for God and just did what God called them to do. Right? In a
Mm,
similar way, Jack, I was telling my wife, like, man, this guy Jack, he's really doing the Lord's work over here. Because,
mm,
although you might not be preaching, or maybe you are preaching, I don't know, right? But what you're doing here is you're allowing fathers, you're allowing parents to be at home with their kids, to be able to raise their family, to be able to provide a
Mm,
better life for them, to be able to minister to them. And the thing is, even if your audience doesn't reach, hundreds of thousands and millions, you can effectively have maybe hundreds of people who are firm in their faith because they've been able to provide for their family and been able to see God's goodness. So, I mean, I just see the work that you're doing as really God's work. You're in the weeds, you're in the thick of it, and you're helping people
mm,
make a difference that's not just some short clip on the internet, but something that's impactful for life. Other people, right? They might have a quick clip online about, a stance that's really good, but what you're doing
mm,
over here is you are discipling people with the practical parts of living out a life in faith on this world.
mm. Thank you, man. I got chills. Thank you. That was from the Lord. I fully received that, bro. Wow. Yeah, man, and I think you'll feel this once you start getting into your work. We can get tunnel vision and we can forget that, like, in the mundane, in the day-to-day, God is using us in big ways we don't even know. And it to your point, man, it's just that silent, quiet, consistent faithfulness where God starts to build upon our character, and then the fruit comes because of the character, and then that fruit grows. And thank you. Like, it's just a good reminder because I get numb to all the people getting jobs, man. Like, this took you 20 days, right? Like, I we just helped a guy get a job in 9 days. He doubled his income. It's like, for me, it's normal, but that's such a good reminder to me, and back to you, that, like, man, we're living the mission that God has called us on, and it's gonna look different than other guys, but it's the mission He has for us, and there could be nothing better.
Yeah, man. Um, a quote that's been sticking with me over the past year from one of my professors. He said that a lot of people they overestimate what they could accomplish in a short period of time, but underestimate what God can do that through them in a lifetime, life of faithfulness. That
Mm.
just being faithful in the small things day by day, like we really underestimate what God can do through that.
Yeah. I forgot who it was. It was one of the really big, evangelists of our time. The long story short, though, is that this guy was not a believer. He was out in the Midwest somewhere random, and some random person came up to him and shared the gospel with him. And he never saw that person again, but he gave his life to Christ. And then he went on. I could be wrong. I want to say it was Billy Graham. I could be wrong on that, but it was that impact of a guy who, like, that random person in the Midwest, they probably never thought that they just activated the next Billy Graham, for example, right?
Yeah.
And they probably lived the rest of their life like, "Do, do, 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 do. I'm just kind of a Midwest small town kind of person." They're gonna go to heaven, and God's gonna be like, "Let me roll back the tape for you. This is what happened because you were faithful." And so I just think God is in the business of multiplication, man. Like, we think of the parable of the talents. It's like he wants us to step out. He doesn't want us to bury our talent in the ground and just, like, live in fear and scarcity. He wants us to step out and believe that he's going to do something crazy. What was that step like for you, man? Because tech sales was new to you. You had to make kind of a big investment. You had to take a lot of risk to jump into this. How did you kind of parse through, what if this doesn't work? Is this the right thing? Am I gonna like this? What was that thought process for you?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that the thought process was pretty simple. Not that it was easy, but it was pretty simple, right? That when you take the cost of the program and you subtract that from the new amount of money that I will be making, right? That investment is super worth it. And really, what I was thinking about was like, am I willing to pay for my willful ignorance to go away, right? Because at this point, after going through some of your free trainings and seeing what's available, right, I realized, oh my gosh, there is stuff out there available for me to be able to get out of the place where I'm currently at. And at this point, if I choose to not move forward, it's more so out of willful ignorance. And I'm not saying that's a condemnation towards anyone, but more so as just a wake up call that, I mean, I forget the exact proverb, but like scripture talks about selling all that you have and buying wisdom, right? That wisdom's more precious than
Mm,
rubies and gold. And the thing is more valuable than the money that you spend or you can gain, right? Is the wisdom that you gain. And I think even bigger than the landing the tech job itself. One of the greatest lessons I've learned from this is how to network and the power of actual networking. And, it's not so much about who you know as much as who knows you, as you've showed us inside the program. And yeah, it was just, it wasn't, it was difficult, but it was simple. It was like, hey, the return on investment for this is worth it. Am
Mm.
I going to bite the bullet, or am I going to sit in willful ignorance from this point on? And at least that's what it was like for me.
Quick interruption, y'all. If you need help breaking into tech sales, linked below is an invite to our Breaking into Tech Sales community. In there, you're going to find resume help, LinkedIn help, where to find good jobs to apply to, how to interview, literally everything you could need to go land a great job in tech sales completely free. Go get signed up. Back to the episode. The only way to grow is through time or money.
Mhm.
You're gonna pay either one, right?
Yeah.
Most of us, like me, I learn by experience and failure and a lot of failure, and it just takes time to learn stuff. So if someone's listening right now, you just started your tech sales journey, you have willful you not willful, you have ignorance though, right? Like you just don't know what to expect. You're
Yeah.
gonna go apply for you're gonna send some connection requests to managers and think you're doing a lot when in reality it requires a lot more than that. And there's only two ways to get to the other side. It's like, do you take that time? Do you take 6 months of failure,
Mhm.
or do you find a mentor to help you? And yeah, man, I
Mhm.
I think 20 days later, like the fruit was good. You saw it, and now you're set up for your family, man. That's huge.
Come on.
What speaking of, you just said networking is so important. What do you think people get wrong when it comes to applying to tech sales jobs now that you know how I teach how to approach the job search?
Yeah, I think what people get wrong is how much other people care about you. And here's what I mean, right? Not that people don't care or that there aren't good people out there, but rather like these managers, these people, they get tens of thousands of, emails like per week, right? They get hundreds of calls, they get hundreds of texts, right? They're not going to feel offended from you going out and reaching out to them, right? There might be one out of 100 or 1,000 that feel like you're being invasive, but the other 99 are like, oh, hey, yeah, this guy's just doing the job to get the job. And honestly, if there's someone who is kind of like ticked at you trying to reach out to them, then, maybe they're not the right person anyways to be your manager because you're doing what you're supposed to do to get the job. So, yeah, to resum that up, I think the biggest misconception is like you don't feel bad for reaching out to for people. Actually, if it, and let me say it like this, feel bad for not reaching out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go and reach out. If you reach out to people through call, through text message, through voicemail, through video, right? You're doing the right thing. It's not invasive.
Mhm. I didn't grow up in a corporate environment. Like my dad was military, so he wasn't really corporate.
Mhm,
I didn't really have a lot of corporate influence around me. So when I graduated college and I had to enter this world of LinkedIn, I was really intimidated because I'm like,
mhm.
man, this is a VP of sales at this big company. Like, I'm not gonna talk to him. I'm terrified. Or like, hey, this SDR manager, she's running this big company. Like, who am I? I'm just a little college grad. Like, who I don't have the authority to talk to her. But to your point, man, it was a misconception because you have to remember that these people were you at one point. Like they started their journey from nothing at one point. And I don't know, Andrew, I would assume that in 6 months, once you've been an SDR for half a year, if someone reached out to you saying, "Hey, I'm brand new to tech, but I wanted to reach out and see if I could learn anything from you," you're probably going to respond pretty positively, right?
Yeah, I'd be ecstatic, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want everyone to hear that who's listening is like, guys, please understand that people are going to be fired up about you reaching out. Now, let me let me set expectations a bit there. You're going to get once in a while someone who's sour, but Andrew, to your point, probably don't want to work for that person anyway. So that's a bullet dodged. And then, 50-50 sample size from there. 50% of people are going to be like, "Hey, I'm super impressed. No one's ever done this before. Great job." I just saw that happen with a client yesterday where the manager was like, "I have been in business for 22 years hiring. No one has ever done this before." You'll get that reaction, which is like, "Yes, that's awesome. I stood out." And then the other 50%, they're used to it, right? They're used to people reaching out, so it's kind of more neutral, like, "Hey, great job, yeah, let me put you in touch with someone." Um, but okay, so it sounds like the philosophy that we taught here was just kinda different than what you had learned before, but you applied it quickly, and that's why you got here so quick.
Yeah, I mean, just for the audience, for them to realize that the job I accepted was the second job I applied for.
Oh.
Like I give glory to God because like I don't know how that happened, but also to Jack's credit for the credit for this course, it's really effective. I'm like, yes, you're gonna have to put in the work. It's not passive work. It's hard work. You gotta grind. You have to have grit, right? Jack goes through all of these different mindsets you need to have while doing the program, but it works. If you do the instructions, if you follow it, this program works.
Mhm. Yeah, man. Yeah, you gotta work hard, to your point. Like, guys, it's one-on-one coaching. I don't work with people that aren't gonna work hard. Like,
Mhm.
that's why we screen and vet people, and Andrew, when my team met you, I remember Joel was like, "Dude, this guy's gonna crush this program." I was like, "Good. Let's bring him in. Let's do it." W Tell me about when you got your job offer. What did it feel like?
Yeah, I mean, it was really I mean, like, it was such a relief because I mean, when I was getting the job offer, I was also, um there was another company that was thinking about giving me an offer too, right? They ultimately didn't give it to me, but it was just the first time in my life I've ever been in a position where I had potentially like 2 offers for a job on the table, and it more so than just the relief, I felt the empowerment of, "Dang, there is so much more inside of me than what I've thought." Um, I've heard this from somebody, I don't know if it was like, Jordan Peterson or somebody, but it was like, if you work your absolute tail off and use your max capacity, like, even in your early 20s, the least you can be worth is, like, $50 an hour, right? And I think
Mm,
just while doing this work over here, I realized, "Oh, dang, like, this is utilizing more of me than any job previously has ever had." So that's what it felt like. It felt empowering to receive the offer, and it
mm.
was I was given the offer just coming back from a day after vacation too, so that was just like a cherry on
Oh, wow.
top, blessing from God, just the timing couldn't have been more perfect. So yeah, it
Man.
was it was amazing.
What did your wife say? What was her reaction?
I was like, "Yay!" She was, very ecstatic for me. Cheek to cheek grin. It was just awesome. Like, just, um, like, her words are like, "It felt like we can finally see the light at the end of the tunnel, and it's actually close and not far off."
Mhm.
So that
Mm.
was that felt amazing as a husband to hear that from my wife, and I know my wife was just ecstatic, could not have had a better partner to go through this with.
Oh, I love that, man. Your wife sounds awesome, and I know your daughter is just probably not even blabbing yet, right? How old is she now?
She just turned 13 months, so
13.
her blabbing
Okay, okay,
consists of
so she's
"uh-oh" and "dada,"
yeah,
so
yeah, she's probably blabbing a lot then. I know she's not old enough to kinda conceptualize, like, what just happened, but what does this mean for you as a dad to your daughter?
Yeah, I mean, it means that I'm willing to put the hard work to make sure my kids have the life that, they need to have to thrive. And
Mm,
like, even though she might not see it now, understand the future, I know that the compiled effect of how I'm going to treat her over the course of her life is going to just have such a profound impact. And I'm going to remember that more so than the income I've made during this period of time, it's the hard work I put into this, right? It's the realizing
mm,
there's so much more because once again, I'm in school, I'm married, I have a kid, I'm working while doing this program, and I don't want to paint this false image like I was able to hold everything together. Like, sometimes I had to drop the plate here, sometimes that had to break, sometimes whatever, but just knowing that you can only grow through embracing the difficulty. Like, this
mm,
had to have been one of the hardest working seasons in my life. No, and there's
yeah.
no tragedy, no, major shift. It was just purposeful, like, self put on work to just get better. And I just know that just that mentality that's been put on me, right, will transfer to my daughter, and it's going to impact her by having a greater life and just a great mentality.
So good. And I think this kind of thread of the sacrifice that was necessary for you to get here, I think we can land there.
Mhm.
And one thing I want the listeners to hear is you cannot casually do a job search for tech sales. It's
Mhm.
way too competitive. You're just not gonna get anywhere. I talk to people who are like, "Yeah, I've been applying for the last 9 months on and off." I'm like, "Man, if you just went all in for 2 months, you'd probably have a job and you'd be 7 months into your new SDR job starting to talk about AE promotions." But I think there's this misconception that you can have it all at once, like you're saying, and I love that plate analogy. I've heard it too, where it's like, you have to know one plate is gonna drop at all
Mhm.
times. You just have to, like, butter that plate up enough so that when it's neglected, it has enough butter on it to, like, get through a little hard season, and then you'll give it attention again. So even right now, man, like, the last 3 days, I haven't worked out because 'cause I've just been, like, so busy, and I know that and I feel that, but I'm like, "It's okay. I'll get back to it. We'll get that plate back in circulation here." Would you give any encouragement or any wisdom to anyone out there trying to get into tech sales right now who just feels maybe overwhelmed with how much work it takes and how much sacrifice it takes? Like, do you have anything to give them?
Yeah. The winner of a race only has to be one step in front of second place. All right. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling like world is ending and just you can't get out of it, and chances are 95% of the people you're competing with feel the exact same way. Okay. And, God willing, I want everyone to get out of a horrible situation. I want everybody to be to a place where they don't have to worry about how to provide for their family. Right. But if I'm being just transparent and frank, it's those who will take a step further, who will give it even just 5, 10% more than the next person that actually wins the race. Right. And
Mm.
just, an encouragement on that too is that this is for every single job application that you have out there, and you could apply for 30, 40, 50 job applications, and you just have to remember, you only have to be one step in front of the next person in order to win that race. So any little bit you do, the difference between you getting hired versus not getting hired could have just been sending that video. Right, it could have just been calling that manager. So I want to
Mm.
just really encourage someone out there trying to break into tech sales, like, man, you just need one step above the rest. So what's that one step that other people aren't willing to do that you're willing to do that's gonna put you heads above the rest?
Oof, that's so well said, man. So well said. All right. Well, we'll end it there. I don't have anything else to say on that, bro. You just crushed that. So, look, y'all, if you need help getting one step ahead, just like he's talking about, there's a bunch of resources down below. There's a free training, there's a free community you can join. And then if you want to do what we did, got him a job in 20 days, there's a link below where you can meet with our team and we can see if we can help you or not. Like I said, it's a lot of hard work. We didn't sugarcoat anything here. Like Andrew, thank you for being very blunt. It's a lot of hard work. And I don't work with everyone because it's a lot of hard work and you got to show up. But maybe we can help you get a step ahead and help you make a transformation like Andrew. So, Andrew, man, thank you so much. I'm so excited for what God has planned for you and your family. This is only the beginning. And just to know that He is with you, like who could be against you? You know, it's amazing.
And well, appreciate it, man. I really appreciate all your encouragement and support.